been divided so very arbitrarily. In Berlin in 1884 and 1885, that has been spoken to. And we have been told so very correctly how that continues to bedevil the continent of Africa and to undermine our attempts at unity. Those of you who are students of history will remember that in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and in 1964 in Cairo, Egypt, the debate was, should we redraw the boundaries? It was agreed by the founding fathers then that that would be an exercise in fueling conflict, and that if we were moving towards unity, then redrawing boundaries was unnecessary. The OAU was, of course, founded in 1963, a weak organization which, as it were, introduced the concept of inviolability of boundaries and placed emphasis on sovereignty. We have been told that that could very well be the reason why Africa's growth has been stunted. There are those, and Ezemo has told us so very effectively, that upon consultation with the gods, he has been told very useful things, and the gods are right in the revelation that they have made. The gods are right in saying that we have suffered in many ways and continue to do so, and that therefore the post-independence African country or countries are bedeviled by many things. That could be a reason. It has also been said that part of the reason why we have not realized our potential is because we make the wrong choices. And that could very well be true. And my brother, who spoke about choices so very well, told us that it all rests on the choices that you make. And you who are Christians will remember that at critical moments, even in the Christian tradition, it has always been a question of choices. If you read the book of 1 Kings at chapter 18, when there is conflict in that little place called Israel, Elijah summons them and says, choose you now. If Baal is God, bring the 450 disciples of Baal and the 400 of Asherah who dined with Jezebel. And if God is God, let him be worshipped. If Baal is Baal, let him be worshipped. Perhaps that is the reason why we are where we are. We never make the right choices. We choose Baal when we should be choosing God. There are those who have said possibly, and you see this choice if you read the book of Joshua chapter 24, when he calls the Israelites and tells them, choose you now. Do you want to worship the gods whom your ancestors worshipped before they crossed the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell? As for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. Perhaps we are not serving the gods, and that the gods are angry. And in the anger, they continue to visit pain upon us. So there is a sense in which all and many things have been talked about. But Africa sometimes judges ourselves very harshly and with a jaundiced sense of history. The post-colonial African state, the oldest post-colonial African state is Ghana, 66 years only. Nigeria, 63 years only. And we often forget these very important and immortal words of John Henry Clark when he said that all African countries, upon regaining independence, started to conduct their affairs on the basis of systems of governments that were borrowed from Europe, and that none of them will ever succeed on the basis of borrowed systems. And as if he were a Jewish prophet, he is being proven right on a daily basis. Because whenever we in the African countries think that we have identified the problem and that we have identified the antidote, when we apply the antidote, new wounds appear. That has been the state of Africa, and that continues to be our state. And therefore, when we judge Africa, we must ask ourselves, from whose lens are we judging Africa? When in 1965, the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah wrote the book, Neo-Colonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism, and the Most Dangerous, he was right, and he was overthrown for it, because the colonizer left but never left. And if you have any doubt, see what is happening in Niger, in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, in Mali. They are alive and well. And Africa remains the only continent in the world that is still referred to as Francophone, Anglophone, Lusophone, and now we are beginning to even call it Russophone and Sinophone and Indophone. There is a sense in which we must never forget this, so that when we are judging Africa, we ought to judge her on the basis and upon the realization that the headwinds that stand on our path are numerous, and that there is no shortage of fifth columnists within our ranks. The SMO spoke, and if the SMO were to speak a little longer, he would have reminded you of what Chinua Achebe said in Things Fall Apart, that they came and put the things that held us together, and we can no longer reason as one. And he said, we may have sent the white man away, but what about our brothers whose minds they have infected and infested? And there is no shortage of them. So Africa can and will arise. And if you look at the continent of Africa, she has always been conscious of the need to do right things. And if you look at the continent since 1963, and I can remember this so very vividly, I can remember Kwame Nkrumah in 1957 on the 6th of March saying, the freedom of Ghana means nothing if the rest of Africa is not free. He says the same thing in 1958. He repeats the same thing in 1960 in Casablanca, Morocco. He repeats it again on 25th of May, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he tells the 32 heads of states gathered there, we must live here with one army. We must live here with one currency. We must live here with one foreign policy coordinated. And I even suggest that we can have a capital, and I suggest Bangui in Central African Republic because it is the most central. But we listen to him not. After that, of course, we have had our gains. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to eliminate apartheid, South Africa. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to chase away the Portuguese in Cabo Verde, in Angola, in Mozambique, in Guinea-Bissau. Under the aegis of the OAU, Africa was able to chase away the apartheid regime in what is now Namibia and the Ian Smith regime in what is now Zimbabwe. Let us not judge ourselves too harshly. We have made our mistakes, but sometimes it is proper, as my sister said, that we see half full glass rather than half empty. We must not debilitate ourselves by constantly bashing ourselves and looking at Africa from jaundiced eyes from Europe and America. And I'm suggesting to you, we have and will continue to make our mistakes. Look at Africa and the decision that she has made for herself over the years. As early as 1980, Africans sitting here in Lagos, Nigeria, came up with the Lagos Plan of Action. And the Lagos Plan of Action told Africa, in order for Africa to realize our potential, we must trade amongst ourselves. But the neo-colonizer was not resting. A little earlier, 5 years earlier, the neo-colonizers had sat down in Lomé, in Togo, not too far from here, and came up with an agreement of African and European and Pacific countries. And when that did not work, they sat again in Cotonou here in Benin and came up with the Cotonou Agreement. They are never resting. We must never forget that. The neo-colonialists are alive and well, and is always trying to frustrate what we do, because Africa is their hunting ground. And we did not stop there. When we are doing things, you tell me what Africa has not tried to do. In terms of the airspace, we agreed in Yamoussoukro, in La Côte d'Ivoire, that we will open our airspaces in 1988. We sat in Abuja here in Nigeria in 2001 and said we were going to spend not less than 15% of our budget in the health sector. We sat in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea in 2014 and said we were going to focus on agriculture. We sat down in Maputo in 2013 and said we were going to ensure that our women were mainstreamed in the activities of Africa. We sat down in Abuja in 2013, in 2014 and said we were going to have free movement of people, and once again sat down in Kigali, Rwanda 2018 and said we were going to eliminate visas. We sat down in Abuja and said that we were going to silence the guns in 2013. We did not. And we sat down in 2020 and said we were going to silence them. And now the guns are alive and well. And who are supplying us with the weapons? It is not us. It is others. Should we blame them? Yes, we should. Should we blame ourselves? Yes, we should. So Africa has always been a battleground. And the rhetoric that we see and the manner in which we ourselves are educated. My sister talked about education. But really, what are we teaching ourselves? It is fella Nicola Pokuti said, "Teacher, don't teach me nonsense." And I'm suggesting to us that most of us, including most of us who are here, we are so very thoroughly miseducated that what we must do is to unlearn the burden that we have in our mind. Those of us who are lawyers, when do we feel happiest? When we cite an English authority to determine a land case in Abeokuta. When we talk about the reasonable man, we don't talk about the reasonable man in a keke, in a papa. We talk about the reasonable man being the man in the Clapham omnibus in London, England. That is how miseducated we are. And until we are re-educated, we who are present here are part of the danger to Africa. Because even in our unguarded moments, I went several years ago to the university at Harvard and talking to students, and one of them said that Harvard was the best school in law, in teaching of law. I said, whose law? Nigerian law? Ugandan law? Zimbabwean law? They can only be best in teaching their law, not ours. And I've seen we who are in this space of education, somebody spends 6 years at Unilag, and when they go to Harvard or Stanford for 3 weeks for a short course where they spend most of the time taking tea, he comes back and says, an alumni of Harvard. So the time is now. The time is now to begin re-educating ourselves. The time is now to exercise the ghost of low self-esteem. You know, Africa has many things. We have talked about our mineral resources. We've talked about our arable land. We have talked about many things, but from where I sit, the greatest African resource is the human resource. You know, Africa has been so wronged by other civilizations. We were the enablers of the first industrial revolution. When our ancestors were taken to work in the farms in Europe, we enabled that revolution. Right now, we are enabling the fourth industrial revolution and the fifth industrial revolution. That is why they have talent visas, because they are taking our talent. If it is not nurses, it is our IT gurus. If it is not our IT gurus, it is our engineers. And we are gleefully letting them away. I see our heads of state saying, we have signed a contract to take our workers to Saudi Arabia, modern day slavery. And you know, just this morning, my wife sent me a proverb from Turkey that when you elect a clown and you think that he will be a king, what he does is to convert the kingdom into a circus. And I am suggesting to us that that is part of the African problem because it starts with political hygiene. Most of Africa is suffering because we do not have democracies. We have kakistocracies. And kakistocracies are governments by our very worst. This is what we must deal with, and this is what we must say. Who do we elect into our public offices? Because, as I've said before, when you allow hyenas to take care of goats, why should you be surprised when the goats are eaten? This is the same. And Africa is only going to realize our potential in all areas when, by dint of choice, we enable and allow our best men and women to serve in different areas. I've heard it being said about Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. I've heard it being suggested about Mahathir Mohamad in Malaysia. I've heard it being said about Japan. I've heard it being said about other countries. But there was a conscious decision on the part of those individuals and the followership. We always talk about leaders, but we never talk about the followers. The followers must also style up. Africans on average are for some reason attracted to thieves. Africans are for some reason attracted to men and women who cannot serve her. And when they are not served, then they complain. When Africans are told, choose you now whom we shall release, Jesus of Nazareth or Barabbas, they say, release Barabbas. And when Barabbas behaves like Barabbas, they say, why are you not behaving like Christ? It cannot be done. And this is what we must do. And I am submitting to us that it can be done and it should be done. I know a number of African countries, and I travel this continent sufficiently to know that there are African countries that are doing well. They are trying. There is no nation without trials and tribulation. We are fond of talking about the United States of America as an exemplar of that which is good and bad. When they said in 1776 that they held certain truths to be self-evident, that all men were born equal, that they were endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those who are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, were blacks included? No, they were not. Did they not fight a civil war? Yes, they did. Are they not frustrating people until 1963? Did George Floyd, was he not killed only recently? There is not a single nation without trials and tribulation. And we must therefore remind ourselves that we have the wherewithal to catapult Africa into a different orbit. And Nyerere of Tanzania once said, we must also define what development means. And he said, development does not mean necessarily the building of skyscrapers. There is nothing wrong with that. But let the Americans go to the moon, we are going to provide water to our villages. We must define what development means. And once we define what development means and we define ourselves, then Africa shall realize our potential. In 1996, Thabo Mbeki talked about an African. Who is an African? Who are you? Define yourself first. The Chinese define themselves. The Indonesians define themselves. The Koreans define themselves. We must define ourselves and begin to believe in our institutions. You know, and I see it in this part of the world. When we want to look at our economy, we say, what does the Moody's say? And Moody's is very moody when they come to Africa. Moody's. Can the Department of Economics at UNILAG not do that? Can't they? McKinsey, an American outfit, They are the ones who come here and tell us how our economy is behaving. When the American dollar as much as sneezes, the naira goes into a coma. Why? 63 years after independence in Nigeria, 66 in Ghana, 61 in Kenya and many other countries, we still believe that somebody else's currency is what must define us. 63 years after independence, we are still importing chicken as if our chicken forgot how to lay eggs. The time is now for Africa to ask fundamental questions. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you'll get the wrong answers. And I'm suggesting to us that Africa is already asking those questions. You know, in the year 2013, African heads of states and government sat in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That was during the chairmanship of South Africa's Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma. And they decided that we can no longer continue to live in this muck and mire. Africa must know progress. And they came up with Africa Agenda 2063. My sister spoke to it so very ably and eloquently and passionately. What we don't say is that during that week, Nkosazana and Dlamini Zuma wrote an apology letter to Kwame Nkrumah, telling Kwame, we apologize. What we are doing now, you saw in 1963. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Now we are living through Africa Agenda 2063. We are living through the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm not a Jewish prophet nor related to one, but I can confirm to you we will not fulfill any one of them. You cannot, in the nature of things, engage the reverse gear and then think you'll reach your destination. You cannot. And that is what most African countries have done. So the time is now, as the cliche goes, when you are in a hole, you stop digging. And Africa must stop digging. And if we stop digging and we look at what we have, Africa Continental Free Trade Area says that we are going to trade amongst ourselves in the world. Africa trades ourselves at best at 20%. Europe at about 70%, North America possibly 65%, Asia now going to 60%, Latin America going to 55%, Africa 20%. What must we do? We must stop certain things that stand in our way. Conflict. Look at Africa as I speak to you. Look at Sudan. For the last 2 months, there is no economic activity in Sudan. They are destroying what they once built. Even if you wanted to trade, who do you trade with? Generating as at now 2.5 million refugees. I do not hear the voices of African leaders, no. Their silence is eloquent. And when they speak mutedly in sanitized languages, and people are dying. Children who ought to be vaccinated in Sudan are not getting vaccinated. Here in your neighborhood in Cameroon, children have not gone to school for the last many years. Conflict. In northern Mali, the country is divided de facto into two. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 120 armed groups, yet it is the busiest airspace in the continent of Africa. Minerals are being taken away to Europe and America. Central African Republic, the same. Libya, the same. Several months ago, I wrote to the chair of the African Union and all African heads of state and said, convene a meeting with only one agenda item. What can we do to save Africa from this slide? Only 4 replied. That is the state of the continent of Africa. We must deal with the basic things. We must solve conflict. We must change our governance. Because if we don't deal with the question of governance, we are going nowhere. Africa has become a continent where after every election there is conflict. Because the pursuit of power is a cutthroat competition where throats are actually cut. And when the SMO was here and he consulted the oracles, he discovered that we have a problem in that direction. And that the sooner we resolve that, the safer we will be. Africa can rise and Africa will rise. But it's not going to rise by prayer and fasting. We must pray and fast, but it will not happen. Because the last time I checked, even those of you are believers, when Abraham was taken from Ur of the Chaldeans and given Canaan, it was not on a silver platter. He had to fight the Canaanites. He had to fight the Philistines. That is the nature of divine instruction. Go ye and subdue the world by the sweat of thy brow. The kitchen where they make manna was closed. Manna will no longer come. Because you must now make your manna. And it is our duty, therefore, as Africans to begin to rethink the younger generation. You know, there is a saying in Chichewa in Malawi that more precious than our children are our children's children. So when we are doing these things, we must remind ourselves that we are doing for this generation and generations yet to be born. When my good sister was speaking, she started in 1969 about the education. We were alive. Then you came to the year 2023 and we are alive. But when you came to the year 2077, knowing as we do that we are not immortal, we shall be assumed into heaven. Some of you who will be alive, you'll be old and possibly stupid and not very useful to anybody. This is why we say it is intergenerational. So, brethren, what we must now do is to ask ourselves, then what do we do? Beyond the rhetoric, what do we do? And what is beautiful in Africa now, not only in the continent of Africa, is that there is a consciousness. You know, I'm in a church setting, and sometimes it is good to remind you, for those of you who believe and believe rightly, even in the Bible, sometimes those who are saying the right things think that they are the only ones, thinking in silo. You remember Elijah going and saying, but Lord, I'm the only one who has not bowed to Baal. He was told, no, there are 7,000 others. And as I travel across Africa, there are 7,000 others. Today I've seen many of them. Today I've had the honor and privilege of listening to many of them. One enlightened more than the other. One more passionate than the other, talking about what we can do. And talking about the place of Nigeria in that space. Times without number have talked about Nigeria and reminded Nigerians that the day you become great, that is the day Africa becomes great. When I hear in Nigeria economists and politicians telling me that the GDP of Nigeria is 500 billion United States dollars, and that therefore it is the biggest economy in the world, I am reminded of the words of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, my friend, when he says, in a debate between dwarfs, what is the value of one dwarf saying, I'm taller than the other dwarfs? You are still a dwarf. This Nigeria is capable in 5 years of becoming a 3 trillion GDP economy. The fundamentals are there. Talk of human resource. And I think it is, my sister, you go to anywhere in the world, tell me, engineering, artificial intelligence, space, Nigerians. The saying goes, if you go to any part of the world and you do not find a Nigerian, run away from there. Because there is nothing to be done there. It is these Nigerians who will move the country. I keep on reminding my Nigerian friends, you say you are 220 million. No, you are not. I suspect you are 300 million. And if my suspicion is correct, you owe this region and this continent the talent. You know, when people talk about instability in Nigeria, I ask them, can you handle refugees from Nigeria? Can you? You cannot. They'll overwhelm the entire West Africa. So it is in Africans' genuine desire that Nigeria remains great and becomes great. All the ingredients are there. Writing in 1983, Chinua Achebe, in his book, The Trouble with Nigeria, said that it is simply and squarely a problem of leadership. That is an African problem, and I also want to say it is also a problem of followership. Before the Ezemwe started speaking, he talked about what is expected of him in the village. When you are appointed into a public office in Africa, they actually expect you to be a thief. And if you don't steal, they say you are not wise. So in the minds of many people in Africa, Abuja and Lagos are hunting grounds where they send their sons and daughters to steal, to take antelopes, which they share in the village. That thinking must change, because service for humanity is what we must look at. And I have no doubt in my mind that Africa can do it. When I look at Africa and I look at Nigeria, I see an Africa that is capable of rising because our sons and daughters now present in the continent and even in the diaspora. You go and see the Africans in the diaspora, whether they are in Antigua and Barbuda, and my good friend here, the ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda, Wallace Williams, Trinidad and Tobago, will agree with me in that regard. You go to St. Vincent's and Grenadines, you go to Jamaica, everybody now wants to come and invest in Africa. But we must make the circumstances right. So we must improve our politics. We must make our laws enabling. We must improve our agriculture. We must improve our health. We must improve our education system. We must improve the quality of the environment so that we stop our young men and women dying in the Mediterranean Sea, dying off the coast of Dhaka, going into modern-day slavery in Saudi Arabia, in that part of the world. It can be done. We have seen it done during our lifetime. We have seen South Korea do it. We have seen China do it. We are seeing India do it. We can see Indonesia doing it. We have seen Vietnam after the war doing it. And within the continent of Africa, there are other examples. We have seen Rwanda rise like a phoenix during our lifetime. We have seen Botswana do it. We have seen Cabo Verde do it. We have seen Mauritius doing it. It can be done. And if we agree that it can be done, what we must now do is to take a solemn vow. And that solemn vow must come from these words spoken by Julius Kambarage Nyerere on the 6th day of March 1997 in Accra, Ghana, when he was called upon to be the guest on the 40th anniversary of Ghana's independence. This is what he said, and I say this, then I shut up and sit down. Mwalimu said, when Kwame Nkrumah told us in 1963 that we ought to unite, we agreed with him. And we did not for one moment believe that unity in and of itself will solve our problems. What we believe that unity will make our voices as Africans to be respected, because the rest of the world is not bothered about our Ghanaianness. or our Tanzanianness. He did not say this, but I'm adding, but our Nigerianness or Ugandanness. The rest of the world only knows about Africa. The time is now. Our generation fought the colonialists and brought what we thought was independence, but they gave us the crown without the jewels. But of all the sins that we have committed, there is a single sin that we must never commit: the sin of giving up, the sin of despair. And each one of us must remember that we have a role to play. We have a role to play because if the ocean is to exist, the droplets must be good. If the forest is to exist, the trees must be good. Play your part and let the results be the testimony of your efforts.
Oh, dear Michi, sir, what the young fans say, Ambassador TV, what the Asemka, for the say, Abia, yes, starting on one more winning the Abia Kakra Fetrika, say, baby, a peak in the drew. Who's did this as a me crown? Sabi wohon na ukokofa ebia be 2000 oze at least ebia so what when Nick went to me and to mu anchirem say this zito so first no ye na say ye be kwakoto aban and nam say na ye political season ti no say ye video to anye kura ni etimi nya say anye kura ni etimi say but this time no political ayi no twa mu no aha ama ebia say ni say na mo ho na ukokofa kwakwa na sisi kabrem anya de be yem de san obi bia te wo de hwe ya chere fuwe ne adwuma fuwe uso wo ha no mo so paketu antumu because e niam akokosoro nyame ncha de e free say ndc aben ba ye free be say may hoban and then niam start say eba for meba cocoa price so na me build the point me am meet ye me fu am me ye no first na some for sit we decide me can we decide me born nko ade anya say we decide no na ye to no 55 cities ni 65 cities and no kita 40 cities ya benya bi me ho ahen me liquid fertilizer any other insecticide no e bi kokodu 200 cities ya maya madam for ba ko teacher safo say nkadinya se bibi ni na bia ye ko akwa interview na say zito se wo kwa ene ya no ba beto nimfudie na some for sit ni say we decide kokodu say insecticide they could do say liquid fertilizer and the last me no year am can say kwa kogu koko so liquid fertilizer from 200 cities no say da no ba ko am koto e bia 140 200 sister cities ni mienu no say na 120 free so eno de me de adwuma kro na me koto 200 de kokoye no say adwuma kro na me nsa koto no 160 so 140 no masa de akoye enketo bi wo mu a eno you said nursery no say moa ne bi ba so age say odi kokogu eno me ne ade no eno no ko be 60 ni 70 eno abiko was 40 cities adwuma kro no na me tode ye no enti no me de da bia so say me ka kiro say ko no enye bo me ya na bo ni hia me say betimi anya ndodo
oh okay
you fan say na what 2000 na what 3000 cc fan say here no kura nyina mete me say 15 bucks
okay
so ena ebia wodi about 2500 and metimi akonya be 100 bucks
say first na 3000 is 15 bucks and kabenya 54,000
okay 54,000
okay
and you fan say na wodi about 25 in makoti be 50 bucks
okay 50 bucks over 125,000
it me bomb pay say aban no be so yasene me anya kokoo ni more the more no awu benya no eno no mom no hia chen say ye de ade no kra je 5,000 and na wokọ ye won so akwakote one bag wofu no obi amwa wantimi anoho wantimi anyedi ukokote ye bi abo apono ne ade mi kokoo se ye bo a enu se pan ne nyama ne nsuo ta ho because 2 weeks bi amete ne mra kokoo prices no so
okay
kojo abayaba na MPP aban no woma yo mo se ntrekese no mo bo oh na ne foforo se nkarande abi no mo ba ye no mo ma ye after transitional team ne tena ase no ne ade a wono kokoko bodo ene wo ma ye hunu dwiri mo nkofo adie wo mo ba fo ma wo mo nkofo ono rande abi no nko aka ye na ebi no ma meka binti anu fo etika satam na ne eto ne nyina no ma ye hunu se abandada no kura aboka bi egu ho no mo a eno ne da ye no ma ye tete. For instance, me ofa yikoko ya me san ba betwa gu ya mba be yi ena nka edu se me ko shase aton ena ye de passbook no ko na ye se wo ofa no oba beje bese bi wo koko krachefo no hono a koko e wo so de ba no wa va ma ena nyame ncha de sa passbook na na wo de aba ma ya ndai ya de wudini asesa wo wo fa de no nti e pese e kire se wo fa no wo de ka 20 bucks ho ka enti ye de ye mpese e bia ye beka se fiscal bra na koko bi ade bebe bia ye de 32 kilos and na ye half bag ye de 32 kilos bete etu jiri se nka me ko harvest bia ba sika na na menya nkemenya ebi na ato Ghana fo no na e wo se yen akuafo no ohu e na me ka se do e ha adwene se obi ade a oton koko nso de enim se abu enim se ho ayira eye edwama nso ebo a wo mu benya no e no wo mo hwe ho e ba be ma ye bie because nipa no oto no de akọ na ba bia wo mo nso ensan mo ne se mo koko board fo na mo amo ho no ne de contract akoma MPB ne yire mo na mo nkonko kra moto mre yen etu jiri so obi be kwa akokra moto no de aba wa abra ebo na okoto sa na ode be bam dabi enti senka mo na mo koko fa mo moto na factory bi wo ha ne ye moto a enka sa koko board no sa moto sika no enka nunu ye woni ama nkitinkiti bi wo so wo mo no a e sha ase yesese free ho because am waye se koko board for nti rande abia na se yi ba ko no say edu Joseph edu se ho edu mo beba ko ye nyina enti mo ntimi nseti committee bia na board bia mo amoni ma mo hia no betimi akwaye mo betimi akwa ya gire se ye pe minister bi MPB na ne yire ono na akwa moto de bre enti mefo ya bi do de enti na me ya metimi ya mi na Ezri na gire se dru hodma ese so obi na ye na Ezri no e na me kokoto mia na maye mi na Ezri e na mia me kwa akotu mi na Ezri na me de akọ eti se obi de no kra se me kwa akoto na se eye 1 cedi per a year me kwa akoto 1000 eye sai 1000 cedis we so de mia na medua ma mia na maye mi na Ezri eti kakakra bi abo ho mitimi ye se mi na Ezri no eye be se 4000 enti 4000 no kojo se nka me kokoto anka ye sai 4000 cedis so me fa say ho ka mabo nyina be 1005 ena ba bia wo no so no e wo mafuo no no say e be say 200 meters inti si ye kwa akodua e bi tuba no ne bi tu am na ne bi toto ho ne bi nsu edua so ho na say nka ye na 4000 me kwa akoto no wo agre obi no wa ye na me kwa akoto a no kwa cho sa de kosi obi so no wa akoto na ne dia to abobo ye de be kro nyina nso be se aba be ka ho but to say you say menye ho adwuma nyina nwi na mbo ho 2500 enye me mfa so etidi enti na mo wo ayi ayi friends say mo wo nkofo a mo na mo ye ho adwuma na gire say mo yi obi a oni mu na kokokra moto de brem etu obekwa kokokra moto no wa bra wo mfa bi nto so so ho ena mo abandada mo according to the yen yate no mo sika mo koje ya mo de ba beto on 2023 2024 montimi anya koko sa na nko nti seska ne ka en fa he seska no ka en fa he e da hon ma ye betu ni nyina achi se dollar ya ba fom na nipa na wo no wo to ade no wo de akọ no akoton in dollars wo ko no so nye cedis no de koje wo de kwa koje dollars wo de ko no koje dollar no a ene wo mo so kura de ba ko ewo ma awere ho se wo mo gi sika ni wie ansa na koko no season na start aba.
Oh, okay.
So me yakwa bago ma ba ho no maka chose kojo wo de be fa se me board fue se kojo afi se wo yire wo chekele wele okay mame e bia 3000 na me twa board e bia ba betete me twa board e no na me de ba na mo de mama mu bi na ye de kan bi ate afi no so ye no na de mumutu ya ma me ne e ka aka ho no no wo ti free mu a me san de ka e bia 1000 cedis. The following year, me say here sika kro no a me de ye ho adwuma no a e ma me di twabro na me san ba beje 3000 me de ka say 4000 na se me nyame am fafie na se me ntimi ansan kotwa na bi kura bon na afi no de bo de na ntimi ansan anya yi na me ntimi de be 2005 e ne ba ya another 500 asan akamo e koka kadada no ho so enti no ade no wo mo abandada no wo mai na wo mo politics no wo mo ye wo mo anim MPP for nim de wo ma ya wo ma ja ho na they capitalize on the illiteracy in the system any wo mu bu yen ye say ya dwunu mu wo ha eti ye ne abase ye ko ye demonstration ye nkonkofa ayi kojo de dollar yi aduri se me de uko wachi a NPP for penso
okay
ni to koko no 3100
3100
3100
okay
3,100.
Okay.
Enti no na dollar no ekoya koduru 17 cedis.
Okay, dollar no koduru
17 cedis.
Okay.
Enti na say dollar no fa say 10.5.
Okay.
10.5. So enti say wo pese wo hunu say okay, you have 17 no ni kan ye.
Okay.
Enti the 17 no be ye dia. You have say dollar no ye 10.5.
We say the 17 na ye.
Yeah, the 17 na be enti be ye 3,100 multiplied by 10.5 divided by 17.
Okay.
It is a MPP for pen no so dollar no could do 17 cedis. No amono to cocoa no 3,100 no. Na say NDC for so be for dollar no formula na dia to cause so to cocoa no 9,914. What the fan 15 because of the 15. Se wo de usa wo mo formula no se me hwe se na dollar no 17 na auto no sa proportion we school near friend proportion if so and so is so and so therefore this okay yes anko another step.
Okay,
abra ye ba beto aba no emu ho na you yi campaign ye hit pa no.
Okay,
na dollar no ekokoduru 16 cedis. Edi ebesa ye no 3,100 multiplied by 10.5.
3,100
multiplied by
10.5.
10.5. Then divided by 16.
By 16.
And until say ye 16 no so formula na kasabrin ka wo say cocoa board wo ma ye to cocoa no 2,035 cedis. Wo the fancy the egu akire ne ye round no 2,035. Ena echire yikura mpo no a eba se wo mu fira ban mu kura no kura ye to aba ni wie ya MPP fo fira ban mu kura na dollar no ye 14 cedis.
Okay, ti yemo
it will be people 16 now the 14 na sheho.
Okay, me ba times 10.5
divided by 14.
14 divided by 14. Okay,
it is
2,325.
Say you know so wo de wo mo ebra na dollar no 14 cedis no kura mpo and also the year no mo no ton 3,001 na kasa say dollar na aba sa 10.5 ko say cocoa board ne you wo mo to cocoa no 2,325 and wo makwa koto no 2,587.
Okay,
almost 2,600. Me dia me say asem na me kan me de me dia na ye mfato ho kojo lansan dan ho adwuma me ye cement eduru baby ne to no 120 cedis.
Okay,
eduru baby 100 cedis wo be san be ko bi 95 wo be ko bi 96 ena nyame ncha de po no ya cement 75 cedis eno de ye me de iron rods ekokoduru 96 9,600. Say baby kura nam 6,800 6,500 eno de wo kwa akoto a eye wo de eti say ye titi niema so ade bia ye ton bia so ote emo na 5 kilos no bi sin me de nam koto no 120 na 85 we sim koto ye titi sa niema no so nyina no eye wo de adan na wo nso de na kokoo na wo waye ma aba no eno de aban no nso no when na kwakoto bibi no akwakoto obekwa se ade we se no se me kokoton a me kokoton no 30 cedis na beto no wo ho 40 cedis ono kokoton no 30 cedis na anya ye kura no obeto no wo ho no be 20 cedis ebi no de be foro ka ebi na pa fo kokodura wo mu beyie enom ne ade ni nyina emu ne be frenti so no ekoton no 30 cedis at least obeton no 20 cedis no de bia 5 cedis aye ho ka no ahunu se bode ba ko bia no se me ton 20 cedis na ka sika ne ade nyina ba be ka ho 25 a se me tumi to bode edu a ba ko bia me nya ho fa so 5 cedis. It is a cocoa no sen ko moto and yes companies no Ghana ha ya decide ni to we ya wo mo je wo mo de ya chocolate wo mo je de ya bonvita ne sa de ma no de ne wo se enko baabi but we ne de wo mo nso ye hu adwuma nyina ye tuetuom ka na baabi a wo mo so cocoa board for no so wo mo so pay no so bi so pay no mo oduduye
cocoa board hono
cocoa board for ni binum po o mu nyuma ye for ni binum pe because cocoa board watch my kra we a o ya gipe ya che yi o mu nso hwe ne ho no se enema bi abafom o mu nso ma enema bi nso mra brafom ka
wo panimfo nim
na fe o mu nso ma incentives me de kodwo ho na hia me o incentives say wo ho no ma te se de mka se nanza ekuafo hene frɛ ya because konya fungicide kakra
yeah
ene liquid fertilizer baby ni sa ne mani nyina na me no na ba ko ye 20 cedis etimi nya 22 be 400 ena akire liquid fertilizer yimienu bi ye combination liquid fertilizer san ye insecticide wo me ye no komba eno so na ba ko ye datam 150 ni mi no 300 tie nyenyenye kura sa 700 amode ma me no me ho be high me so hu bibi ti say spraying machine ya me kan ho cocoa board fo nka mo ye na mu nyamfa so kakra wo obi ankogo susu nafuo na fa ebi ya ma ayifo omukra extension officers na go ma ba behwa ye na obi anafuo extension officer nkokohwe na o san at least ebi ya ma spraying machine sa ne ma no nyina na nipa ne yenya wo be ma nya kokoo ne dodo odo me say minazri my sister ba ko America Milia ya onu nafu ye tu bi dia kom ebi nom no ye de me de ne de aye de aria galamse no an nkofo betom kokoo no e de ma bi wo no mo advice obi
okay
kokoo betimi atisu 50 years 60 years kokoo na wo dete ba se nya ado anom ne sa petra no wo ye ya wo te so ba ko opesi ye esuo no to na wo te uhura tufo wi no ano afi bi age so san kodo foforo ba kokoo de kodo mesise wonya ya gise wanhwe ne ye
okay
age se wo wanhwe ne ye eti kokoo no ya ade a oman no sumunsu hunu se eno ne ade titru pa so a ejina so because se ye kuro mpo no ha pa omom to kokoo no ye be 7 or 8 na kodo se duru se kokoo season na wo fam fikire na apasi ya nipa no bebre wo ho no masenke nya support nkakra ka ho a kodo nkafu aye be ye no se dan wo me ho no asase ye da ho mechiri ba ya frempon otenkran kwakuti kumase abusu panyinsa akode eni ha covid si wa akra wan me sister ya asuma otenkran ye busuafo wo bogoso wo munyina bi wo dodo wa ebi won kran wo maka wo bogoso eti asase na da ho no da ho mamia me bra ba ko a wo no wo ha se wo no no ne yira asase so no mo wo ye nafu ono kampanyi na ya na ye kopeje e koye na wo no bom obi ani ho aka me ne me sister ne me bra ba kokoli wo no so de me e no wo ye eti asase na da o me die me hia ye support na se makwa kwoti kokoo no menya 20 bucks at a go pay wa ha yes sir ya 20 bucks and na kro ye 2587 na kojo enka bona hweska benya etimi me de se metimi aye mafuo no kase na me we me si kokoo no meti so over 50 years kokoo na obedua na akere so 3 years and kokoo na ban ebinu mu acha 4 years kura na 3 years and you know ashase yet it is makoko harvesting and at a go metimi akwakoti kokoo
51,740
na 3 weeks bi e do so sa no e bi a 2 weeks me san akwa akote a e ga wo say e na yen san hwe ne say ade no nam say abafo na obi mpeso odi ni sika baba beto na akoto abo kanti no wo kokoko ye ni se kokoko no kokote na wo hata na wanya wo be say wo 4 bucks na sisi ho kokoko akrachifo nyina obi a sika ni ho a wo chewie enye wontimi nkasa wo yiri mfa bi nya nkwai wo kire so ye ne hwia yenye eti se nyame ncha de no akwakote wo 4 bucks na say ne we de yes 25 point something na at least wo kwa wo benya over 10,000 and yi se enye kura na ene obi a oni bie obi a woni kokofu ni bie wo ne no hwan de ne ye so ho e won se ho adwuma ba de no ne sa ne mani nyina no de but ye wo situation bi wo ho a ye duro na me mintimi san ko school ena mintimi nsan ka se me kwa kosu adwuma foforo eti tese fulo no an esese meye eti de yesre cocoa board for ne aban ne se ene agric minister ne se ye besere wo ebo na aban de me ya ode bra de me ka me masem se wo hwe the economic situation e work country ha ye tetete ne me nyina so tetete ne me nyina so ye nyina na ye de no a me ya teso a eye ne ma ye ton wo Ghana ha na bia ena nipa no so wo ton wo de akwa ma no ne no akwa akoton
okay
etu obeton wo akwa akoboka so wo kokoboka wi a ene be ka se chena ne me ne kora nto koko ni bi no na nto so yesu koko ne be ndai
okay
ena neighboring countries no se first no se Ghana de no bo ofo na Cote d'Ivoire no ne ade no so o munya ya na bi no smuggle de kwa
yeah ena manfo dwen se ebia na manfo de akofefa ba
yes ho no munyina ba bia de Cote d'Ivoire for kora se akire no o de bi ewura mu ba
okay
wo de ye to that the decision be a friend bold decision
okay
bold decision na mo take is a bold decision e wo so uma nipa na wo ne wo mo ye this adwuma wo mo nyina te ase akire mo kire wo menti ase ye adwuma aha nti sa na te once a dollar na ba from na world market no enso so kura no according to Randia Bimtie Atoforsen was in a world market na a ton of cocoa no 71,000 or so
okay
what the board na divided by 16
71,000 maybe okay 71 yeah more 71,000
71,000 divided by 16
okay 4,437
aha ena we mu no so hu na che say we say mu no ena 4,000 we no ena na te 3,600 film
3,600 okay aba be
8,837 it the ne ka cocoa board for the nsem no the ne ka cocoa board for the nsem one bag and
Saturn turn 3,600
same and I say no you know a ton of cocoa no was about 41,000 but 41,000
41,000
not divided by 16 so
abe 2,562
it's not just a woman crying nke nuru die wo mu tuama yen no say no so the world market no edie no a wo mu ton ho 41,000 no mba be ya eti we nu kura no wo mu to koko no at a loss so wo hwa
de wo mu de bayi kura
de wo mu de bayi kura wo mu to at a loss but e bi enye ayi eti wo mu no mu ye ho adwuma no ne ade fine wo mu kwa first card ya bam ato force ayi no wuni ato force in the press conference
na me wo but things aka phone back
oh senka ye bo what
the kasana mempen wo TikTok
so we go they do a ton of cocoa no say na 71,000 and no moto at that time kura no what the toton wa be say 837 no say bibi sa eti we no kura no hwa wo moto cocoa no at a loss
okay
se per my analysis no say sa na ekode a oh eti e wo say kuyafo no na make say enye better say wo to obi ade na all of a sudden wo be ba be ka kire ne say ya teso ntimi nso me teso
okay nti I think say menya one tip wo ha yemunti concerning Atoforsen
today Thursday 12 February 2026 the new producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop season will now be 41,392 Ghana cedis per ton and
Zito Bosikano
392
effective today Thursday 12 February 2026 the new producer price for the remainder of the 2025-2026 crop season will now be 41,392 Ghana cedis
41,392 Ghana cedis
divided by 60
per ton and 2,587 Ghana cedis per bag. This measure has become necessary to reflect the reality of the world market price of cocoa, ensure the injection of immediate liquidity for expedited payment of farmers, and guarantee the sustainability of our cocoa sector.
Okay, not just say but obi oha we Ukraine on ton na say dizito
say no na ya me ka kire honorable Randia Binum say mo ma me gino me ye ton mo me ye ton won ka say bag back wo di ko adwama nso a wo da wo ton no wo na wo breaking it down say ton obi nim say 16 bags
okay
it is a 41,392 divided by 16 e 2,587
na say ton e 16 bags
now go kokaton wonu ko ani no okokote ani de ye 1.5 nso se ton it will be say ne de be no gina ho a wo kekan
so it is say ton here 16 bags. It's all go 16 bags in now where grandma so are. 41,392.
And we also did the same sikat we no MI 2,587. It's woman no cocoa board woman the way.
That's the question.
Oh, it's no media adena ababeto no Ghana for no as a politics no ye de ewura baby adi ewura so dem no ne ade ade a MYA. Okay. Eduru baby a wo se nipa ye se kire no kan no kore.
Okay.
Na me say NPP for no wo nim no wo boapa wo ye Ghana for aban no ho aye eno a ne sa wo made a wo ye because said ye sikan wo no sika okokogye ya de babeto koko no wo wajaka saka no so san da aban so eti wo mo sika wo mo kokope nkofo wo mo kokope sika de babeto oto sika no obeto ni cedis wo wi convert ni dollars no de kwa na so wanya fa so che obesen aba beto wan de kokoto ade awie ekokoton boka na nsa na mitwa bode adurodu na lady bi wan to okrum esa mi odun so onim se mi wafuo pa da mi wo no frame no se da bode no anto okrum ase ya na ne bode na wo de no ye ndai na msinka bibia no so wo de wunya bi na se wo de ba kojo besi mitwa bode 10 bode 10 na mitwa ya apoa no hase ya nkamenya na kamenya be se 300 and be a base 50 because on be kwa kwatete na bia kam no ni ade na me paid me emi aka me di gu so kokoma no no hon man no frame me driver na ba be duro ni e be ndai enam se wa hwese de mu si ton na nto okrum na won so ubua no kokko na de ache wa yi de bi gale ni adua na kale wele eti wo de won fu sa wo de mamia wo benya so mfaso no also wo de mamma 700 because case can so mtua here say 50 cedis any de koye eti wo hwa next time no mi twa body na e ba betete no wopoa no na body aduro me de akwaje 300 cedis because hot no edam galam say no ne sa ne ba ho dada aduane body woman ba ku front okrom a wo ko ekropon ma woman ba ku timi ba poa no ba beto body no di gu abobo yam tua abobo ya 300 cedis de kokoton nya mfaso na ho na be kwa koto ade obebo ka me kura so be de ende body ende se minya twa de ba beto obi wi a ebo a de be me bia me mo kan de sense body ba ku na me dua no ha nkwadwo mi twa we ya de ba foforo be sen aba ma sen twa de ba foforo be sen aba ma sen twa ayi teacher bia no o kire ya de wo ayi ne wo nteni wo pieces na ene middle school for koka bom na ye friends worship no see yesu kwa ponto obi ase na pan obi na o chema esuafo no nti pan be numpe o chema wo mbubu mesua obu a na abetua so obu a na abetua so ye wie ya na etu ndi ni friend teacher obu so na me body wutwa ba ko a na ne ba be sha nan utwa ba ko na ne ba be sha nan utwa ba ko na ne ba be sha nan we school ya friends utwa ba ko no obi aje so na ne ba be sha nan so it is a me ye betete ni dwom na obi abe ya tibitom so no ne ade na me fu se me wo ma me bi wanto akrom a on de pe kenkran me wo honom a yi na me sandi sika no emfa line be so me enam so me yi no na name no ye ayi edubo ampon Augustine ya me wo honom a rada 700 me tickets ka 50 ni free mo me nya say
500
650 enti china me ba betete board ye no ha obetwa akọ so hu enti wo no oba no so feel se wono no wo wie no de be chekele welade no de bia ye ga beans ni nyina no wo wie wo na board ye no nko ne kokko no nko ano ebi obenya 500 cedis e wugidi se kam nko be ba beto nsa
ko nso ntomoka ko be ma bia be 300
ebi na to kokko board ne Ghana akuyafo no wonu won to no nkonko boka so wo bat kokko no se wo mo boa ne yenya mfudie yenya no ne adigusu no ne ade ye benya ndodo ate ko fu no so beche kokko nso si kwa wonya dua na se start se so adwuma wo ho miensa wado ho watwam waguso eno a
honorable ye boating parliamentary candidate or Asante Achim Central so watch out zito so watch out power so better nka yeah honorable so watch out power na ofilu tu yeah but zito you share about this issue 12 points plan no afeni e ba be wurewurem was say immediate payment of all outstanding arrears owned by cocoa farmers.
Say no. Ebinum do am de akọ. Me mom de cocoa purchasing crack bia na meka.
Nti aka bi omudi bia.
Me de obi a na meka but wo ma ondo om ka no se de edi kan. Obi a wo mo di nika bia so om cocoa pesca betua de ka. Eno kura se yase mo aye de.
Okay.
Oh. Ade ande wo de akodwo me se kodwo me ne me nua ba ko wo Germany sesi akofi kakari. Ya timoko be 2 bags. Edi egu ho. Ema that time driver bi ne friend kwa ma so opeso oto hata.
Okay.
That time so be maye 30,000. Me say there be ye mpre. Kodwo ye de car no to ye de moko no mienu gu car mu kodu kumase ya. E ma no koton ye 16,000.
14,000 ko.
That time no sikanti na ma me body sa. Enye na sika. That time na ye come wo 1,000 we say no eye yi no. Also be me 30,000 na nka mfa say ni 3 cedis na bibi
na 30 cedis
na 30 cedis
manye
ya anye
na muri ko ji 60
ya de ma no ba ko kuma se onkoto mre so ndi onim se obi beto no yi ko fi kakalo o Germany se si a mo ba ni na no so oto nso ye frɛ no kwa amoa
mo
ha no ba no ba ya hu ye ko ye na de na yi no anya yi o 16,000 so
ene ma so ye she
kodwo ya jasam kitu yi ye nkeke ho ana ye kwhwe na wi am ne mesin kodwo bi so ye kwa akoye adwuma bi wo
and was say introduction of automatic producer price adjustment linked to global price and exchange rate. It is so automatic. The more now world market e cost no abe adjusting ho
the dollar no
ni be push.
On say me can say me hu 12 points you know so on say me matter ho answer.
Yeah, was say guarantee of minimum producer price, replacement of the old syndicated loan model with domestic cocoa bonds, permission for cocoa board to sell any volume of beans to local processors. And I say revival of the producing buying company PBC.
They say we kro minim di akodi because I'm said no na ya buy the me say baby okra baby to cocoa gun chance ni nyina tutu ansa na yesi wo ma ba just a whole lot.
Man, and I see we mandatory processing of at least 50% of cocoa locally from 2016 to 2017. Conversion of 5.8 billion legacy debt into equity. Transfer of 4.35 billion Ghana cedis road liabilities to the road ministry. Forensic audit and criminal investigation into cocoa board past operation. Cost cutting and operational restructuring within cocoa board. Cost cutting and operational restructuring within cocoa board. Na say kabia cocoa board for bobo sikatua hunu bi sikatua tantan bia.
Listen cocoa board watch my cry you boni page da wa. Ko do mi da mi ansam no kra ne ye ka no. Enti obi a wo koski wo Brazil to na munimo obi a wo cocoa board yes wo mpe ye pa obi e pe cocoa board wako. Because what we say ya shepe so me so a try. Na ye akuafo na ye tete aso so nti besere wo mo na fa so ba wo mo fa bi nso ma se wo mu ananka ye se ye de fudie na batise de mo de be ya kodo me de honorable Randiabi wo mo bo nchirechire mu nchira manfo fi se enye simple sa enye bete se obi ade a wo to ne bo ade ma no wo teso.
Minority demands immediate dismissal of Cocoa Board Chief Executive Randiabi
de no aye ye disika bia ma no wakodi ye disika bia ma no wakodi ono Randiabi ni problem no e de no wo mo so waye say yes you because why yes wo kan bi so
omo say the ento mu demand ne dismissal no say over 1,000 Ghana cedis slash in price of cocoa bag. Describe reduction as unjustified.
It is a we Randiabi near the mimizi to me kwa me ame de me pay the 1,000 cedis ne beka ho. We asma wo ka we say ababe ni wo. Oh, that has one can about wo. Ono Randiabi na no wote hon na no wo se me say cocoa no mate so. Na ene ka be na to force na eba beka. Ade na kwachi fosu so ba beka ka bie. Eti wo nyina akokohia ye no wo kojo ja wo no na aboka na to sika wo ko 2023 2024 no wo mtimi supply ho koko enso so wo so ana Randiabi na atin officers Cocoa Board CEO no ene wo se mia me hwese de ne me kwa koko na fi metum sei afi metisu sei sa na te eti se adi nipa foforo ba ye see randiabi yenyi ye randiabi na se ye de okuje to abla kwa ba okuje to abla kwa be kasa ne me ame de mpem atukuku
me pocket money exam 2000 aka obi ade ho
we yensem hunu
but say no utimi say issue na aba no the minority may patch say now omo na dwene kuafo na na do kokko na kokko ye 3100
kojo jaya en media nim na me ma kire mu no say na ye 3100 na wo hwese de ne ye koton na dwaman so na de toto se de en na dwaman so ebo na duro na say na wo se woton wo mo to akwa koton into won ton konkoton no fofofo Gadini by the Yebisa, 1 year boat to Mamma say, me iron ross no, the cocoa company no honma, one the 1 ton no, and mammy 7,000, and I mean, Babaton is 6,008. Obinya boat do not make cancer, 70 years meant to me cocoa company no, 1 ton mammy 86, and I'm beton me dear 75, because we have for the Christmas, it makes a chunk of 1 year.
And the issue now, ever they say no, minority for the say. Say Ghana for more
what do you expect from them? What part by more but no idea na wususu so obeka. Me dem kan ne me bia ye tetete ne me bia so ntisi kokko no so e don so ye teso na affect na. Me dem say wo momo aye ne ntimi nya de kese. Da bia se me dem me ka me nane ma no. Me nane ma no.
One of your favorite minister Honorable Kopoku and on the floor of parliament we see na media for ni hye no so na boda kokko ne say ya teso say and I say the muntie de wo hoye eti ona wa Kopoku e ka asem ye ntie no.
So the cocoa that we bought at 5,040, we are going to sell it at 4,100. How do you pay for it? So Cote d'Ivoire has reduced the price. That is why Ghanaians are not smuggling to Cote d'Ivoire. Otherwise, the farmers will not be making noise. They would have smuggled. They have reduced. So if
and see or say Sankara Ghana for pa first no
the call
say oh ya
so me man bebre no mo so obi apo ado no mba beka and obi ejai ka
ejo mo senka say doctor according to Honorable Kopoku was senka Togo ni Cote d'Ivoire ni na sefo no senka omo price no wo so ra Kenya ni senka kuafo no
say kan say go bebre no de beko but wo nim say ho nye yes na bi de ba Cote d'Ivoire fo na ye de 3625
no mo ne de
na bi de ba nanka kojo me de jawo
eji say ni de issue na ababeda no but I think say Honorable Randiabe echire mu say omo baaye no e ka omo beto ye na nye ka
say na me ka say wo ya me nkura ni hu so
wase zito kasa na me mfantu
eti me nipa ni hu no wo mu hu say ye baaye no ade say na wo take decision na me say wo bo wo ma amane dada nti ya obi anwanwa but we ni de say to da omo no nkofo na omo kasa ma omo no omo ma ebi nka ho no oto obo no wa kirekire no omo ba wo mu nya aborofo no nso bebiri no omo mra fom because na nipa na ti akankasa no about 80% tete eti kakra 20% na wo mo nte akankasa ne bi ko bekodukrum kokko ni bi ni ho
omo awo ka borofo na
akire wo mo no
because at force in be 4,100 per ton and this per ton
20 be nim se ton ye 16 bars ono so kura ne de ne nuru 16 bars etu ka se per ton no what se ton no ye dia so nim se wasisi no
yente Dr. Randiabe na ye wrap it up yente
billion for cocoa roads alone. There were contracts of 26.5 billion.
Or say cocoa roads nkwa car na omobeto ye no enti now no Honorable Randiabe so address issue ni nyina cocoa farm bi ehu video on TikTok a obefle pia kosoro
oh say ndi wonti
ye brofo
na me kase kojo enye betesa ade a woto free obi ho no akwa conference o niam this time in tons amatishu say utira nye no kokonya obi a nipa no betuma ma na ode be ma no ba so woto bu kirekire mu kire no no obi a no oru nipa ba ko bi wokuma se no afre menu na abenmo se ball a ho ye ton se no ka na besi wendie na so a obete ne ho ase ni nyina ye nkirekire mu a ode be me nipa
but this is only say mode of communication e was
low omo banso omo yetwi programs no omo meno ne no so enya sa English channels na omo kokoko so obi anka asemo ntebrofo ba mo nkama de yi yen form for no
ni pana unu mu deal no 90%
we need the okan kra wa nti we hunu the opesa kire I say lawyer bia begina no ye expedite and then no case anima no keke nipa no kra wo di na asem no no case no wonte ase
wow inje say ne de Zito wo de wo say se wunya le dodo eniema ne ba se nka price na ba from yi ana wo say fungicide ne eniema ebo kofo
ndi ekofom dada ndie obia wo so obeka no kure bia anim se enku eniema ye di gugu koko no so no ne ade ndi ni nyina ba fom na mom de aka de say bia spraying machine bi no ne sa animan ya na ye de so obi betimi abo 6500 and so de koto spraying machine so because there be ounce the pani problem
okay
nti sa koko na ye no e bi no de solve wa enu se mu koko bo for mu fantom ho so mu ko ye koko rose no ne ade na ye obi ankan but ye nia no yesu ye koko no a ye de beba ma mu anya ye so fa so mu ma ye niema be ma ye ho ahen ha ye
mo be stable but we be so am say ye wo de ye koko board mo niema mo ye no mo funding na ye say we say ye na ye regulating no because which means say we think by now na be
You're welcome to Rejoice Media TV. Eche minimum baby share mo hache papa. So wutie mi Nyankopon kan hono hye no anya kese wate. Nyankopon na obo soro ni asase no. On hye odi na onya okese. Sene wabo onabo Kennedy akopro ko Agyapong ho eban abedu sa mpempesuo no. Ommo wo suso ho ban ebi. Mo am TikTok no mo am Facebook no nyina me ba ha che enyame o broken heart no ye nyina echi yen na mo de eto aba ne wiese ya no mo ye free na ye no ma ye di animu no krofoti mi frɛ no maka che se onabo wawe all right, anyway, yo, good evening to you, Ghana. Good evening to you everywhere you are. Those of you watching me from USA, United States of America, those of you watching me from Canada, I greet you all. My big house to Princess Lila, Apostle TV, and Omega, and I'm a boss, Mr. Rikus, of course. Rejoice. Obaso, I'm a castle rejoice. No, I just meme to the word. Meme the call we are seeing now, so I think you're making us say, aha. And yet, asemboni bia na aba. Na asem de eba iwum. Hey, Kabi so great. Yes, started jumadi no nyame agya nyame oba nyame nkonkrudi mu nkwanta bisa Nyankopon. Bebi a wo bia no. Erade ye yira nkwanta wo na wo kire yi wo kese. Wo na aboy ho ban. Se nyame bi so a o mekire ze wo so sen Nyankopon. O meka abronya ne se nani adin, se nani adin a nani adin se Nyankopon. Onka na yentie. Yeko ejumadi ne so na enhwehwe ntentam so asane be ya minimum TikTok for no omo ase omo na ohoro ma no because you say omo kasa ya che omo no ye me meka man omo no ye me meka e wo TikTok no so sa enti mama omo anka anhwa bombu besi mama omo anka bombu besi o. Happy Valentine's Day to every lady watching me. Happy birthday to everyone. Hey, happy Olivia ati from bacha muti happy Olivia anka monka chese me mano happy birthday so ati ase na me twa me hombre sisi so na membo video bi nchiro sisi me twa me hombre sisi membo video bi nchiro Yes, Monfancheme. Ese me chair, yes. Send humanity no baby also fix baby na say technical issues bibia damudina voice no abayi na so so nya ne oyere wope we are here to serve you right. Enti sana medi kan ka kire wo no. Se opanyi tena fie se putuo nhia. Opanyi tena fie se putuo enhia. Hye de ebehye na mum se bayira no hia ye befa bi ni yedi. Ana befa bi na de ya danse se putuo ni ba behye no papa na na nate ho. Na na wakonya se nko betum gya no wandum no. Ye frɛ ye hofa wo se on de mfa no ho enye na afu na ebehye nti ondum no. Enti putuo no hye ye ana bayire no ebi hye ye. Ye dibi na dibi agu ofa dance die. Ah, menam kuro no obi ahia ma o se DJ Ike. Me pa cha wo che no muntie. Me pa cha wo che no. Ehin na menye bi ato. Obunko todwe. I was so emotional. Was it DJ? Ehin na menya wo che ni bi ato. Na kare Japan me penasem dodo. Kennedy. MPP for ya bro. Na meme ntoma ba biem. Ko se kare Japan beba. I was so shocked. In front of the place and about me and for test confoye program. And I'm say na nye test confoye program wa hai kwaji ba me ade was a chairman. E mo sa ba ma ni di mamente. This is the reality on the ground. I'm sorry. I have to tell you the truth. I am just individual. Me alone, me vote unquanti me maba me antimi weni aba. Me alone, my vote cannot let Kennedy Japan wins election. And can me to tugumu. Me alone, I cannot do it. I mean, come here, I bet na say no can no vote. Na ma bet na no kin no vote. What benefit do you gain? Abra party no owner JFK krompo diba omiachi. Abra party no ni odi president Freeze Nanado ono krompo gina mu no okodi asa kire se o ma bo homode di nipa ono de ne ba e be de ne beto MPP for so no omo de na ba. Na ba omiasusu nam na o ka se enkrofo di na tem na so o mfi omo. Na Nyankopon na de na ba. Ti onu mfi obi a odi ni na tem. No kasa enkrofo patu se on pese mo ye ti se asantefo na so mo ntimi anye omuru afise ne papa ne otumfuo nana mebo mu ase o mebo odi na kansem na koka gina hono di Kennedy atem can be so great. You know, sometimes I say this to encourage myself. Na makache me say Ike aden kura na oha wo ho Kennedy Japan ti waduane kura bo Kennedy Japan ti won kola kura wunye sika kura ntu omoka Kennedy Japan ti enoma nheda mfa ma Kennedy Japan ti yawie o moto Kennedy Japan ti o wo ye noma bebre Kennedy akompro ko Japan ti aden kura na wunyai na kura ngodi ba umia na chibi na osuso njo musika ni binni Kennedy Japan ti you go through so many stress, so many difficulties, so many challenges. Ukodi ba umia nchi anka ba disa nkronko mo fa wadwuma kura nkansa na MPP kura efiri abamu. Kennedy Japan ti we going through so many stress. Na bibia se yanka kire say, Ike, it's better you follow the right thing than to go to the wrong, to do the wrong thing. Knowing clearly say adiwe emboy. Enti se mi wuda mumpo no mi wiase bi mumpo no nipa be kai me nyame be kai me abofo be kai me say abrantie we kwa asase so no he was following the right thing. Se na Yesu oba ya na nipa kakra bi ne follow no na so no oye no papa no sa na meye. I follow the people and I know this kind of people exist. Not me alone. But ayana ayaro husem say koduru ba bia me se kan no etwa nifa na etwa bonkum enti munya screen recording na mfa nko Me pacho ni waso na microphone ontumu no. Farmer to microphone.
But the thing is that you are alive. That's the problem. You survived.
Enti arawoseme wo mu ni se enkrofo ya na ye pe nokre na edi nokre chi no nokre na nche yen. As I said, Obi invite Happy Olivia. Happy Olivia, happy Valentine's Day to you. We are live on Rejoice Media TV, Rejoice FM 101.7 and Manchester GTV. And I need to wish Happy Olivia happy Valentine's Day in advance to her. She has been one of the inspirational person to me, and I really appreciate it. Happy Olivia, I love you so much. Okay, all right, yento aso. Ati for mon fan chema on the obadia, obi awa ne master yento aso. Yes. Enunti asema meka na maka che ona buke ne Japan ne say on follow ne branch champion ye no. Branch champion akọ election olusu on the toss third on am crop benanim sen no. I don't know why. We inviting the digital men. Branch champion no ni social media for am no mugusu ye ne bebire but no onkrofo na mo ye behind the scene. Omo post in video. We dictate omo and okoshi omo no da omo ase. And I'll show them the way forward. Honorable Ken, what are you doing? Honorable Kennedy Akomproko Japan, what are you doing? You have people that love you naturally. Honorable Ken, you have people that love you naturally. They love you from top to down. And without you, Honorable Kennedy Japan, MPP can never come to power. Unless we cry Osama because we are Juma. Mr. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia Pew, on Pew, without Canada, Japan, and people will never come to power. Rather Yankopo, because you're uncrophodium, because you're uncrophodi diatem, go be dimatem, but this will be dimatem, but this will be dimatem. Would you dimatem? Na 2028 in Swan. Hey, Eskelebui. I'm a cartons back. Share video no mama wati na se na bridge madino so na so be kire wadwen na yenko yanim. Without Canada Japan, and people will never come to power. Honorable Canada Japan, let me remind you something. 2023 some people follow you. They lost most of their eyesight. Ebi mu car say ye. Ebi mu hwere musika. Honorable from one. You didn't call them. This time around no mu di wachi but omo anyi omanim. I didn't catch it. Mr. Atakura, Pizza Zone, CEO Pizza Zone. A man wait for a bruchere, a bagana, ever see ko brekum, echo wanchi, echo mampong, echo chin, echo ye campaign 2023 na mekano. Ko ye campaign sa de Honorable Kennedy Japan. They love Honorable Kennedy Japan. They don't need anything from Honorable Kennedy Japan. Just a phone call. Just a phone call or invitation. My idea, nyamuye ni meniaso. Ntinka 2024 ya 2025 ona mbo bebai. No afre from because only nenya intact. Who on a number. Oh, say no, mesia ko biem. Mo support am de mamaniaje na ye ko biemi. Mo mo am de bebo mbia mani be den ebeji. Nyombe. You know these people will come and do it more than what they did previously. But who called them? Nobody called them. Nobody. Me say nobody called them. You think I'm lying? We are down. You can't say we know what we are saying. So what I say? Enti obi tie me a on send come on abu kene Japan me so tie asem. Send me catch and say, "Ye be start me catch on bobo TikTok is for na no. Na we yesu tie na obo no. This time around, on time yesutie because machine and epija on they can drop you. But just say Honorable Kennedy Japan na doye any ne don't know. You done naturally. We don't need anything from Honorable Kennedy Japan. We just need him to say what's what Ghana. Listen to where I'm coming from. If Honorable Kennedy Japan says he loves Ghana, and indeed he loves Ghana, then he should join the base. Yes, say this, record this and send it to Honorable Kennedy Japan. We are saying that if Kennedy Akufo-Addo Agyapong says, claims, and thinks he loves Ghana, as he used to say, Ghana first, then he should join the base. Joining the base doesn't mean come and talk. We were so happy. Send media for no. Me say microphone media na small no catch and say munko bisa na question way. Na but me and do attempt, but Obama microphone could do attempt. Honorable, when you are coming, allow the dogs to bark. Allow the meow or crano to stay in the house and catch the rats. You know what? Allow the watchman to stay the watchman place and do his job. No interruption. Allow the Kaya young men and women to do their job. Honorable Kennedy Agyapong. So we Johnny base now. Yes, this time around we have to give you instruction. We are not saying we are commanding you. No, we love you. We know you love Ghana. If you are joining the base, you must follow our roots. People like allow them to back their dogs. Allow them to back. But me open all his dogs. Ni bulldozers, ni machinery, including a few Schwarzenegger. Now close with dogs. So when Alexander is backing you were shouting them down. Why? Honorable, why? You don't lose anything. Some of us we lost everything. If Honorable Kennedy Agyapong claims he loves Ghana, then he should join the base. Else, if he comes again as MPP parliamentary prime minister, I'm sure disqualified. I'm sure Honorable Kennedy Agyapong send this audio to Honorable Kennedy Agyapong that if he claims he loves Ghana, he should join the base. And when he join the base we are going to open all the dogs, all the meow. I mean, because meow out here, see a crown on your baby and crying, your baby Ajatano. There are people, they are lions. We are going to open the Sibos people because this is time for Ghana. This is time for us to rescue Ghana. You see, cocoa people, cocoa farmers. No one himself Matia Brusunti and come. One say come on. Rather young couple. Escalate. Oh, share video now. Subscribe no watch. Me can. I mean brag. Me Brandon. What are you going to give me? Me Brandon Ajit. Me can crow woman natural. Abra let's set a year Jumano. Nan crofo dia chiro omo no support bo mianti no. Na omo dia let's set a perform. And no more issue. And we don't support this. And he is not part of the campaign team. And he's not part of this. Massa. We have people Honorable Kennedy Agyapong should have called. Oh, Baumia, oh, we are MC Ishmael more any political mavis, any boys no more back here, any coca. Also invite your mom if or the Omukoda Hotel almost 1 week. Uti Omukoda Hotel almost 1 week. Honorable Kennedy Agyapong we inviting the TikTokers nana. No. But we are so in working for him to the sense that yes, to the base. Kosha by this time, Friana call a program so. Kosha a phobia member was so the base. We are telling Honorable Kennedy Agyapong. So do Ghana dia omejinem no onje Ghana. Oni Alan enkambum. Oni Nana Kwambe dia akucheda enkambum. Omo nyina nkambum no meji Ghana because the baby Ghana ekono. MPP NDC, they are the same. NDC is a full of settings. Enti moi, when you just koko swate, NDC be me say up me catch row. Se Ghana wahu. Ye jechire nyina akra na Jomahama be kwa kofa tua akuafo ka. Na akuafo jani dibo be kwa kofa de tua omoka na mo jani dimbo. That is NDC for you. Whatever they will do to retain power, they will do. But MPP thinks about Ghana a lot. That's why we love MPP. But the current MPP, because we didn't want to talk, we didn't want to say anything because we are calling for unity. Everybody call, unity. We are calling for unity. We are calling for unity. But we have seen that some people don't want unity. What's up unity? We are now to a yampia. Hey, now you are to a baby. We are finna yampia koso. Any moment start here. Any moment start I am pian moment start because abronye diatem koka gusu diatem ba omia na mususo no so be ye you they say ba omia me sero me da wo so me dai bebre sa wo so me nye den Dr. Mahmoud wa omia me da bia no wo be so me dai me nye den menya den de bia wo so me dai say wo se me mra wo camp dia ene a wo dia me moto na yira ntoma me o toma me wi a na o ma me ka ba kwa kan ho me afi medwen ho eno no that is my demand, that is my offer, my acceptance offer no enuniye. One, you buy me my bobo yada your people stole. 2, you gave me a car. 3, no pay me 2 so amame eno no we a na ya kan ye na fe unity talk no ya start na nya sadia press necking, neck pressing till 32% till 32% and 28%, because onkrofo no omugusu twabo yen, onkrofo no omugusu tete yen, onkrofo no omunyenja yen no. We don't need anything from MPP. We don't need anything from NDC. What we need is good system. So on your mechero. NDC for urban. Yen nim say, Mahama de ba o be wo me ya de sunku bia. Dollar ya omodi apart from dollar. I so ate. De pa na Mahama ye ni different. De pa na Mahama ye ni different. So on your mechero. But MPP de ba be do aban mo at least. Say MPP ba aban no ka chese obabie njuma oba obabie. Ni aka ne na nkrofo be mess up. But say enye no na say MPP ba efie bie mu hoto mo. So on your mechero no enu ti na maye no ye di party na chi. But ya be duru ba bi na say party no ye ka asem no mu ntie dia. Ena enye party na yeso Ghana na ye den ye dwen Ghana no ho. So on your mechero no eti esra mo ni ekoso no anu odin pa anti ba omi ankrofo no omugusu di atem eti omugusu di atem ne de yate yesu ye bekoso ni ya responde ni anya adaje na edi ayeden ye di ama omo me ba cho betuma ba dwumadi ni so na ba be kire wa adwen obedi atem wo ha me kasa na mendi obi atem udi atem a onfie ne metimi ateso because ene no kra my maju se me nkasa nche me ba me di message ebre ona bu Canada Agyapong se on frefre ni tools no o me join the base na mo base ni o be join a anya fi na ebe ye me pacho because Ghana no ye me pacho macho a emfa eniti o ba be duru a kan kranhye sem kan sem a be ko Canada Agyapong asum kan sem a be ko Ghana fo asum na Ghana fo bra mo bre enne arabo sem pa matina eye me ya ne se kwasi broni o free China Russia ebedru Ghana na ese da Ghana ni pa ya tirum se woni broni ware na woni ne wo pe wanyahwe wo ba ne be ma take it na de akwa abrochiri ntino follow me no di machi obi o hokra wo yire ne ma owo kunu e wo ma na odi nachi na one na akwa ya ne omo beye omo ye bia na wagya no ene wa record omo nyina de ombegu ebegu media no so na wo ye sa ade we no wadwan ko dukuru mo mra bia nche no obi ye be ma ko Russia se okoche no na hwa ade eye Ghana ni a anka Ghana yoko agya se enkrofo mra Ghana memeche abutreka won abutreka de emeche no nko Ghana ni de emeche no nko na mum abroni na wa bebe Ghana fo bukata ene enkrofo madeda utimu sa abrante krotum so o yare wono omo da so a omo no ho ban Ghana roho na juma wa ha na UK ni ba be na ko ene sa di we. Happy Olivia, you're welcome. Hello, Happy Olivia.
Hello.
What you saying? Happy birthday to you in advance.
Hey, that's all.
Asembe na woka abra wote se abran TV wo ye oba mami bisa se UK obi betimi aba ho abehu oba na waka chen se waso ne se dimachi ni wadi na chi no di ko hotel na wakoye ne femfram na wagya no komeba cho UK bi etimi sisa
menya vi full video ne hwe na ya oka se dimachi keke sa na oka no
video no hwe nyina se ja follow me no dimachi I will book Uber for you no dimachi I didn't bet me am oba di be machi at once. I na ye drew and I dey.
I don't even know. Say, follow me just like that. Where's your baba and country? Follow me. No, do a cheese just like that. Well,
I said, man, I'll catch you Ghana for man.
The make a chum, a been out to you, me, I don't know why, but Ghana for man, say, yeah, discipline. Yeah, discipline. A binom at their day, and I don't really know the true story and how I am Ghana for my chips.
Okay.
It's no number.
I see. All right. I feel Olivia, me that's my own. So why busy today? The microphone, a man also so enka hakra. Na
Yeah, it's still there.